Also keep in mind that besides the 911 call for police, officers are showing up for traffic accidents, fire, and then today we got the call for the lady with the cats and the missing child. So there, the vandalism, the graffiti, we have to show up to everything. Yeah. So as a priority, if homegirl's getting beat up and she's on the phone and this guy's drinking or he's got a gun, that's where we're heading. But when this guy says, well, I got graffiti and you guys never showed up, it's like, well, we're dealing with the bloody situation. We're dealing with the accident. We're assisting the fire department. So, and I know that you guys get it. A lot of people don't get that or don't see that. The one thing that hasn't been completely clear is when people say, and Ms. Gigi's with me, I keep my radio on, people say the police didn't show up. They did, they just didn't show up when you were asking for them right away. Because what happens is, so you're on the corner of 13th and Magnolia, and such happened, you're waiting and waiting, but we're getting to everything else. Then you left. And you're like, well, I'm not gonna wait. We get there, and we have something else pending, you know, something else is waiting. And when we get there, we'll say, well, she's not there, this is cleared. And what happened is, when we ask for your phone number, well, I'm not giving you my name or my phone number. I can't call you. The police say, well, I'm looking for somebody in a jean jacket with the yellow shirt, but she's not here and I don't have a phone number. Or they didn't give us the apartment number. So that's why they asked that question. So we'll get into that next time I see you, talking about the importance of 911 and giving information for everything. Oh, well, they're dealing drugs. Well, now they're gone. You guys didn't show up. You didn't give us the right information. So it's all about effective communication. We transition into, we took away from the fire department's the time. So I have a great pleasure of introducing two extraordinary men, community leaders in the city administration and throughout the city. Today we're joined by Chief Enterline, and who we affectionately call Chief 2, is Chief Souder. And there's a saying, I'm really bad at sayings, English is not my first language, but there's a saying about for every good man, there's a strong, supportive, organized, keep it together woman. That's Miss Karen that's in the back. So we want to give her some love. And they will tell you about her role. But Chief Enterline and Chief Souder are our chief and deputy chief for Harrisburg Fire Department. They will tell you about themselves and their role, and then you can have some questions. Welcome, Chief, and welcome, Chief 2.
All right. You got speakers today? You're awesome. I shouldn't need it, but we'll see how it goes. So when I was talking, when David asked us to come over, he said there's a couple of you want to be firefighters. Is that factual?
They're not here, the ones that they're absent today, sorry, they're sick.
They're absent. Well, look, we'll take anybody. So you didn't want to be, look, if you had your heart set on being a cop, we'll take you as a firefighter today.
That's
How's
me.
that sound? That's you. So you make a great firefighter. Any one of you would, because when we're looking for folks to be firefighters, we're not looking for somebody that already has a training. That's a big misconception. We're getting ready to do a test very shortly, a civil service test, to test for the position of firefighter. And a lot of people think in our community that, well, I can't be a firefighter, I have no training. That it couldn't be anything further from the truth. Fact is, from my perspective on this side of the table, I would rather you not have a lot of training, because then I can mold you the way I want you to work in a city, as opposed to of what you may have learned somewhere else that has some bad habits or quite frankly, the wrong way. So once we open that up, we'll bring folks in and we put you through a 12-week fire academy. And it's a grueling academy. It's physically demanding, it's mentally demanding, but it's also team building. And that is essentially what our department is. We are, much as the police department, when you're talking public safety, we are a team. And we are only as strong as our weakest link in our team, and we want all of our folks to be strong. And that's why we put everybody on that level playing field with our 12-week academy, and then you're in a 3-year, we put you in a 3-year apprenticeship program. So we teach you a ton of stuff. Some of that training that we taught our guys in the last couple of years culminated yesterday. We rescued a guy out of a trench, and Chief Souder will talk a little bit about that. So we're more than just fighting fires. You know, you see fire department, okay, all they're doing is fighting fires. Well, we do a lot in the city that a lot of folks don't understand. So if we have somebody that gets hit by a car, pedestrian truck, we go out and assist, start providing medical attention, and wait for the ambulance to get there. We don't transport anybody. We don't have any ambulances yet, thank goodness. So that's one of the things we do. Somebody goes into cardiac arrest where their heart stops, they stop breathing. That's an immediate call for us. EMS, much like police, is backed up in their calls as well. So the nearest ambulance might be coming from Susquehanna Township or the West Shore, depending on what the volume of calls are in the city. And that's due to a lot of things. I mean, we have an aging population in the city that needs a lot of medical attention, but we go out and respond on those emergencies too. So we're able to help out, and we have multiple saves over the last 10, 15 years of folks that we performed CPR and used an AED on and actually saved their lives. So that's one of the other factions of our work. And then the other is technical rescue and things that are related to rescue type of things. So trench rescue and getting people out of confined spaces. That's another significant portion of those are what we call very low frequency, high risk events. The guy yesterday, for all intents and purposes, should have died. Just being blunt about it. On the 29th of September, a guy died in the same position this guy was at. Yesterday, everything came together. The training that we put a ton of money and effort into, our guys are dedicated to that, and that training paid off yesterday, and we were able to save a guy's life. Some of the other things we get into, we're watching right now, and Chief Souders talk a little bit about it, because it's kind of his bailiwick. We're part of Pennsylvania Task Force 1, which is a federal team of emergency responders, and they were just deployed down for the Pope deployment. We can't talk a lot about it because of operational security on things that we were able to do down there, but we pre-deploy folks for things like the Pope. We're also probably going to be pre-deploying some responders for this hurricane that's coming up the coast. So there's a lot of things outside of just what we consider cutting holes and squirting water that we get to do to help the public. We have went from a 1950s version of firefighters to the 2015 version of all hazards response. So if there's a hazardous condition, we're responding to it. And that put the strain on our resources too. We very seldom get backed up to a point where we don't have anybody to respond, but it does happen on occasion. We went from 400 or 500 calls for responses in the 60s to almost 3,000 today. We're probably going to top out at about 2,900 or 3,000 this year. So that's a lot of responses. Not all of them are fires. Fact is, there's a lot of those that aren't fires. That goes and speaks volumes of our emphasis on fire prevention and reaching out to kids and preventing youth fire setting. Talking to adults about unattended cooking and things like that. So there's a lot of emphasis on prevention, which prevents the fires. But then we have these other things that we deal with now, all the other disasters that have really been pushed on the fire department and we've been able to absorb and take care of. Do you guys got any questions about what the job entails? I'm sure everybody does. We'll start.
Actually, I got like a question.
Sure.
I want to know who get paid more out of y'all or the police.
They won't say that they do.
We work harder. We definitely work harder.
I think y'all work harder, though.
Have you ever seen a cop dragging fire hose?
I think it's pretty comparable. I think either direction you go there. I mean, it is a well-earned living. We'll put it that. You're not. The joke has always been you're not going to be rich being a fireman or a police officer. And that's true, but but it is comfortable. It is good. You put food on the table, but what you do get above money is that satisfaction.
Right.
There is some things that go with that. When you do, the feeling yesterday when the gentleman got pulled from the hole it's quite calming. Actually something that you were involved with made a significant difference. Mm-hmm. You may never meet that person, you'll never know that guy again, but there's a significant difference made there. So sometimes, I know that seems kind of strange, but that plays into it a lot.
Another question. Do y'all have your own salaries? Y'all in the police?
Right, we work at, right, we have our own. The fire department has a pay structure from a first-year fireman to a 20-year fireman, and then as you study and as you test up and you promote, each promotion will give you a pay increase, much like general business does now. You start out at the bottom and you work your way up, and then when you become the boss, obviously, your salary reflects that.
Okay.
Because of the responsibility you're taking on.
All right.
Chief, you mentioned satisfaction. I don't know if you would have mentioned it on your own. Have you had or done any interesting travel lately for satisfaction for your job?
For me?
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about the what we do as firemen as far as different stuff, and that's the key here. When you ask someone if they want to be a fireman, they don't really know because they think all it is riding a fire truck, and it really isn't.
No.
It's riding fire trucks. It's automobile crashes. It's pulling people off the side of buildings. It's digging people out of the ground. I have the unique opportunity to be part of Pennsylvania Task Force 1, which is a federal system. It's a federal USAR, Urban Search and Rescue Team. We respond to terroristic issues. We respond to a lot of Mother Nature hurricane type incidents. I spent a lot of times here 2 years ago. I spent 2 weeks in Sandy. And it was probably 14 days. We did Hurricane Sandy. So I traveled to the Pope last week, which obviously, again, I can't say a lot about. We were there. It's very interesting. You learn a lot of stuff. It's a job with a lot of dimension to it. It's very satisfying. It changes every day. So, you don't get that same stagnant boredom of going to work and just filling boxes or labeling stuff. It's always something different. You never know what tomorrow will bring. I can guarantee you we'll have 20 things on our schedule today, and I've got to about 4 of them because 20 other things came up that needed taken care of. But we're actively watching the hurricane. I know I found out this morning that I will probably be rostered again to do that. And for me, I don't want to say it's an honor, but in a sense it is, because when you get to that level, there's only so many people. We're only going to take 80 people. So out of thousands of emergency responders in the state of Pennsylvania, and then hundreds on our team, there's only 80 guys going to get to do that, or guys and gals going to get to do that. So you do take those things back, and that does give you some satisfaction, sure.
I just wanted to make a statement. It kind of seems like for people to say that you do less than the police department is kind of an understatement.
Well,
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
Chief Carter and I, and the police department and fire department, we have a great constructive rivalry between each other. That's why I yelled out to him about the donuts, 'cause I know he had donuts, they're just gone. But, we take our job seriously. The reason I got into this was public safety. And the reason that every other member of our department or police department got into it, for the most part, was public safety. Do we get some folks that come in just for the paycheck? Absolutely. That's any job you go to. But I can tell you that the dedication, and once you get into the team atmosphere, the dedication, there's always those internal rivalries, but the camaraderie, the esprit de corps that we have in the police department and the fire department in the city of Harrisburg is unmatched anywhere in this area. The dedication and the commitment that is given, because quite frankly, when you look at the police department, there's other police departments that pay more. We talked about pay. There's a lot of police departments that pay more than Harrisburg, but it's because we want to work for the city and because we want to be here. That's why we're here. And we could be out running a totally different department. Something that's I don't like the cubicle workers. I'm not a cubicle worker. I like a change every day, and that's what we do. We change every day.
It truly is. The city, I mean, you look at the city as a whole, as far as emergency response, they're fighting fires in the townships, and then they're doing police work in the township. It's just different in the city. You got more activity, more people. There's so many different things going on here, and you really perfect your craft here. And when you're, even as firemen, whether we're on duty and off duty, we have a responsibility. We have ethical responsibility. If someone falls down, if I'm at the mall shopping with my family and someone falls over, we're going to help them. It doesn't matter. You just don't keep it here. You take that with you everywhere you go. So, that's the way we have to carry ourselves. And a level when Captain Moody was talking about holding yourself at a higher standard, it absolutely, not only when you've got the uniform on during the day, but it also is when you're off duty. And you see that. There's a sense of pride, with those people and with that type of workforce. So, yes.
How old do you gotta be to become a firefighter?
Ours
What's the
is
age
19.
requirement?
19.
19.
And do you have to have a GED or a high school diploma?
GED or high school diploma, yep.
Which is good, because we beat the police department by 2 years, so you can become a fireman first. Let's just say, for instance, that, you know what, I think I might want to be a police officer. How about you just come over, give the fire department a try, give us 2 years. If you don't like it, then go ahead. You can apply for the police department, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna stay, so that's what we got.
Do you guys have programs like, you know how you said like ride-alongs and stuff like that?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
Yeah,
We've had quite a few effectives. I know there's a young student at Harrisburg High right now that I have to get in touch with because they want to do their senior project with us again this year. We've had multiple other, over the years, students that have ridden with us and kind of taken a liking to it.
We have one that's actually employed.
Yeah,
We have a firefighter now
Yep.
who was a ride-along. I remember him coming on as a high school student and riding along. And when he left, he went to the military. And he came back from the military and applied for the job. And he works out of the Hill Station right now.
Yeah, because
So,
that'll be fun. I would like to do that, like
Yeah.
going on ride-along.
Yeah,
It sounds like a good experience.
Yes.
My uncle, he actually works for the fire department at Harrisburg. He said the hardest part about it is being on time. Like once that light go off for y'all to get ready to go on a fire. What do y'all think is the hardest part of being a firefighter?
Who's your uncle?
Deshaun Dennis.
Sean Dennis.
So that means your grandma lives up on Minnick Street.
Yeah.
I drive by and say hi to her all the time.
So his thing was, so it's difficult to be ready that fast. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be, Chief, if you want to go first, I mean, unless you take it.
Yeah, I think the schedule is number one, the schedule's demanding because we only work 4 days a week. But in those 4 days, you work 42 hours. So it's you're there 15 and a half hours for 2 night
Yeah,
turns,
he's always
and it can turn out to be a long night. The big thing is when those bells goes off, when the bells goes off in the firehouse, you know that somebody on the other end, it's just a day to you. It's a day at work to you. It is another day in the life of a firefighter. However, Mrs. Smith on the other side of that phone that just called 911, it is a significant event for her. No matter how minute, minuscule you think it is in your mind, her hot water leader's heating and out smoking. That leaking hot water heater to her is a major catastrophe for her at that time. So you got to get that in your mind, and that's what makes you respond quickly. It is difficult sometimes. After you've been up 4 or 5 times, out the door midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. That call that comes in at 4 o'clock in the morning, you're a bit groggy, and your wheels aren't turning as fast. But you know that somebody needs you, and heaven forbid that call comes in at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's happened to all of us on the job. 4 o'clock in the morning, you're dead tired. And report of a building fire, multiple people trapped. That is probably the worst nightmare. And you can only hope that when you get up that it's really a nightmare, and a lot of times it's not.
Yeah, along with what Chief Aaron is saying, I mean, you got to remember everything. We are perfectionists in a sense. If you called us, you need help. So it's our responsibility to fix whatever problem you have. One of the other things that goes along with that is, and I think what makes this job difficult is you have to realize that that's not possible. So there's not always good days at the fire department. I mean, obviously, there's tragedy every day. Unfortunately for us, if people are calling us, usually it's because something bad is happening. They're not just calling you to come over and say hello. They're calling you because they have a problem. Some are small, some become major. So that's the other difficult part of our job, is being able to accept the fact that we will give 120%, but just sometimes it isn't enough. And that will truly, it's the same as the police or the fire, any public service, that'll go right to the bone. So
you have a good day where you go out and you help Mrs. Smith, and an elderly lady lost her husband. She's single, she's a widow, and she has a house that she's having trouble keeping up and the pipe's leaking, and you're able to fix that for her. That's a great day, and you feel great about that. 20 minutes later, you're going out and you're taking an 18-month-old baby that's dead in your hands. That is a total another experience, and that's something. There's a lot of mental stuff that goes on in the fire department too, and we're trying to put some emphasis on our folks' mental health, because that stuff sticks with you. And you ask any firefighter, and I won't pick on you because Deshaun's your uncle, but you talk to him. The worst days in this job are those days when you're carrying a dead body, and I don't care if it's the guy we just pulled out of the kind of the Gwinnett Creek that drowned the other week, or if it's an 80-year-old lady that perishes in a fire. Every one of those, you remember it, you remember it, you remember it. You remember every one of those people. So you got to rely on those good days. It was a bad day for Mrs. Smith, but you made a lot better day in her life, so.
We have time for one more question, and then I'll allow Chief Antolin to leave you with some parting thoughts.
Have you ever been off duty and had to they needed so many firefighters and you had to run in? Does that happen a lot?
Right now with our job, where we are, we come on every fire, so we really don't get truly a day off. I mean, even when we're off duty, we're on duty. Now we rotate. I should back up. We rotate duty assignments. So 1 week Chief Souter has it, 1 week I have it. But for the most part, if there's a fire, we're always coming back in.
Okay.
If we have a big fire and you're a firefighter, a lieutenant, a battalion chief, and we have a major fire, we call you back if we need additional manpower. So that does happen.
Yeah, yesterday was a good example. We actually called people in. Our rescue team was activated, so people from off duty came in to fill those spots. And we had some guys from the street go, so we backfilled them as well. So we can call, if there's a major fire, we can recall our people.
We typically have 16 working. Yesterday, I think we had about 38 working. Now, that was between the city, still protecting the city, and then what we were doing at the technical rescue at the trench. So we were up about 38, 40.
The fire stations are yours. So, I mean, the people in the residency of Harrisburg, they pay for them. It's their building. We work for them. So the firehouses are always open. If you have an issue, you have a concern, or you want to talk about something, or you want to see a fire truck, go knock on the door. If you see them outside, talk to them. They've been more than willing to talk to you. We have people stop all the time, look through, take pictures, whatever. I mean, it's open. They're there to ask questions. So anytime, feel free to stop in.
You got a question? You've been waiting to ask one.
It's fire truck volunteer work.
In the city,
Yeah.
it is not. In the city, it is career. It is your job. You apply, you get paid. Now, there is volunteer departments in the county. We also do have some volunteers that run in the city. A lot of times, people who are waiting to get hired may come on as a volunteer. We only have a couple, and they will ride along, and then they'll actually apply for the job. And it'll be just like any other job.
Do you have any requirements to if I wanted to volunteer? Is there any requirements?
Yeah, now there is, and it's a lot of state mandated type stuff, but you have to have firefighter 1, which is it's a very easy class to attain and get. So you learn the basics. You learn the different types of nozzles. You learn the different types of hose. You learn how to tie certain knots and things like that. So it's a fairly easy class, and once you have that in place, then you can become an active volunteer here in the city. We have 2 active volunteer companies, very low membership though, just because it's such a demanding job that, there's not a lot of folks that want to just do it for free. And that number throughout the region is really dwindling too. I think we can get him to be a fireman without a doubt, because you got a lot of, you still got some questions as you keep looking at, I know you got some questions.
This was not one of my interests in life.
We change your mind.
I bet we can change your mind. Do you like to play football or
It's
basketball?
rewarding.
I love football.
See, we got a hockey team,
Yeah,
we got a basketball team,
Yep.
we got a softball team. It's kind of coming back.
They have a lot of time, don't you
So
think?
we have outside of the
The days
firehouse
off.
is a family too, so,
Yeah, that's right. Everything, inside the firehouse is one thing, but when you go home, it's a second family. You spend as much time here as you do with your real family. So, we live at the firehouses. So, when you're off and you have the picnics, you have a building family. You have the firehouse guys come over, and you definitely, you have a support staff built in. Your roof is coming off or your windows are broke. You call a couple firemen, they'll come over, they fix your house. I mean, it's happened. We've had guys that had fire in their homes, and the next day there was 25 guys there trying to put it back together for them. So, I mean, that's, when you sign up, it's a commitment. It's a commitment not only to the community that you serve, but it's also a commitment to the brothers and sisters that you have with you, because that's part of what we do. That's the oath you take. So,
You got a packed house on holidays.
yeah. Well, you spend a lot of Christmases at the firehouse. Trust me.
Yeah.
That's some of the tougher parts, but you get used to it.
The inside joke with the police is they could be here all day, And the only way you can get them out is you have to pull the alarm. And then that's how you get their attention. But in all seriousness, we want to thank both chiefs and Ms. Karen for not only visiting us, educating us, but especially for their bravery, because we know that when there's a fire or there's an accident, while everybody's running out, what are they doing?
Running in.
They're running in. So that takes, that's a courageous person, that's a blessed person. So we ask for their continued protection. They do so much for the city, keeping us safe and protecting us. And not only that, with prevention comes education. So they're not just out there just putting out those fires or assisting at those car wrecks. It's also, installing and educating you about your smoke detectors, visiting the schools, having the kids visit them. So they do a lot of work. Between playing football and hockey and basketball, there's a lot of work out there.
It's not like the police work,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
The big thing, again, just like Chief Carter, our door's always open on the second floor. Feel free to stop in, chat. We have no problem with that. Stop in, see our firefighters anytime you want.
I'm gonna stop by.
Make sure you knock on the door when Deshaun's working.
No,
You can.
always,
You can.
like, all the men in our family, our kids growing up, you're gonna be a firefighter. You're gonna be a firefighter.
We'll talk about that, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Cool. Thank you
And
both.
hopefully we'll meet again.